images there from the New York Stock Exchange, where earlier folks there received a visit from President-elect Donald Trump as he rang the opening bell. This comes as Time magazine announced Trump as its 2024 Person of the Year. It is the second time he received the honor. Trump was selected back in 2016 after winning the presidential election over Hillary Clinton. This is the thing with Time magazine. When the president, whoever is elected, wins, they are Person of the Year. I want to bring in CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady and CBS News contributor J.D. Durkin for more. They're both live at the New York Stock Exchange. JD's on the floor, and Kelly is just right outside. So Kelly, let me begin with you first. Just describe the moment, the president-elect of the United States of America arriving at the center of capitalism in the United States.
Yeah, this is a very symbolic moment, JD, right? Ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, that is a symbol of capitalism. And I'll just kind of show you, I mean, the crowd is still here, but this was actually all the way backed up to where I was. The president just left. We even have a sniper that's packing up there. So security was really tight, but we heard chants of USA, USA that moment when he rang the bell. And people out here, they were waving, and clearly a lot of excitement for the president's visit to the NYSC.
JD, let me go over to you now and ask you about the PPI, which rose 0.4% last month. And unemployment claims, as you know, also rose to their highest level in 2 months. Kelly and I spoke a little bit about this yesterday. What's your reaction to the data?
Yeah, maybe not a big surprise. This was a hotter than expected, at least a little bit, last piece of inflation data. But that is a really important one, Vlad. We can't forget, coming up next Wednesday on December 18th, that's going to be the final Fed decision of this calendar year 2024, which means this piece of inflation data we got today, that's really it for the Fed to head into that two-day policy meeting. We do get PCE, which is arguably the most important Fed reading coming up at the end of next week. But overall, I think all this underscores the challenges for President-elect Trump and the incoming administration. I read carefully the interview that President-elect Trump did with Time magazine, and he admitted, it's pretty tough to get actual deflation in terms of things like grocery prices, which a lot of economists say you don't want. You actually don't want to see prices necessarily come down. You want to see a strengthening of real wages across the board. So a really important piece of economic data that we got earlier today. Markets kind of pulling back a little bit off the news, but it underscores the challenges that the man who rang the opening bell today will face when he takes the oath of office.
Indeed. And Kelly, on social media yesterday, President Biden says the economy that he's leaving behind is stronger than ever for all Americans. It's something you and I have discussed several times, that how the data shows that the economy is strong, but sometimes folks at home aren't feeling the effects of that strong economy. The president-elect ran on a platform saying he could even improve on where we are today. Is that going to be challenging, or is there just an upward trend that we're just seeing here that is, that he's going to catch those headwinds?
It's going to be very challenging. I think that JD just made an excellent point about the economy that the president-elect is inheriting. It's a very delicate balance with inflation starting to tick back up. And then, as you and I have talked about, wages have been rising faster than inflation. But of course, if that gets out of balance, then that spurs inflation. And that's really going to be when people finally feel it in their wallets. Because to your point, Vlad, yes, the top line numbers show that the economy is in a good space. But when you go to the grocery store, you're feeling, well, wow, my dollar doesn't go as far. And so when you see the president-elect suggesting that he may impose tariffs, I think that's where, with the delicate balance he's inheriting and then potentially imposing these types of things, it could be a really, really tough tightrope to walk, Vlad.
Yeah. JD, the president-elect has threatened to impose tariffs when he takes office. What's the mood on the street about that?
Probably a mixed bag, to be fair. I think you talk to certain CEOs or certain business leaders, they're inclined to support tariff policy. And we can't forget, despite the consternation in the 2020 campaign, the Biden-Harris presidency largely kept in place a lot of the tariff policies from the preceding Trump administration. A mixed bag, I think, overall is kind of the corporate mood, because, yes, it does end up being a final tax on us, the American consumer. But I think people also know that President-elect Donald Trump has a unique negotiating style, to say the least, and that he'll likely try to use the tariffs back and forth to exert some pressure on key countries or key companies in those countries. It is worth noting here, Congress has largely ceded tariff authority into the executive branch, meaning it's not really something that Donald Trump needs Congress for, right? That'll come down for budget reconciliation and tax cuts and some of those more difficult things. But tariffs will be front and center on the Resolute desk, and I expect to see a lot of momentum on that in the first few days of his term, Vlad.
All right, Kelly, JD, thank you both very much. Appreciate it.